Are you thinking of visiting the North Coast 500 but not sure if it's worth it? In this travel vlog, Adrian and I will share our honest experience and all the important things we learned that you should know about when traveling to the Scottish Highlands. Scotland's North Coast 500, a trip that involves a lot of driving, unpredictable weather, crazy, and stunning scenery. Adrian and I spent 7 days here. But how much time should you really spend here? What did we like? What did we not like? And find out something that I really did not enjoy doing and will never do again. Where should you go? What traffic rules and etiquette should you follow while traveling around this remote part of the world? What important tips should we know? Where should you stay? And speaking of where to stay, Adrian and I stayed in different types of accommodation throughout this trip. Hotels, a croft cabin, a campsite, a glamping pod, a bed and breakfast, and a camping hut. Find out which one we like the most. And we will also let you know how much each stay cost us. This was hands down one of the best road trips we have ever done in our entire lives. But of course, it may not be for everybody. Stick around until the end because we have so many useful tips, destinations you should not miss, and unbelievable scenery to share with you throughout the entire video. Then you can decide whether this road trip would be worth your time. Before I begin, let me tell you a little bit about Scotland's North Coast 500. The North Coast 500, or NC500, is one of the most stunning road trips in the world. A 516-mile route that loops around the Northern Highlands of Scotland. After a quick coffee break, we made our way to Inverness, the start of our journey to the Scottish Highlands. And on our way to Inverness, we drove on the A82. And boy, we were in for a surprise. To say that our jaws dropped as we drove on this road is an understatement. We drove past the stunning Loch Lomond, and even on a rainy day like this, it didn't bother us at all. We stopped at Frith Point, which is a great stop for a quick toilet break and perhaps even a picnic. Another stop along the loch is Tarbet and the Falls of Falconry. On we went to head to the world-famous Loch Ness, but not before stopping to gaze at the stunning Glencoe mountain, which is also a well-known ski and snowboard resort. We're making our way to Inverness from Glasgow, where we stayed overnight, and it's taking us forever because there are so many beautiful spots. And I don't think we're going to make it to Loch Ness in time, but this is all just worth it. So I recommend that you guys actually take this road when you come up to NC500. On your way, there are just so many beauty spots that you just do not want to miss. We then continued our drive to Fort William, where we made a quick stop to stock up on the toiletries and food. Fort William is also at the foot of Ben Nevis, the UK's highest mountain. It is a popular base for those who want to explore or climb to its peak. One of the things we strongly recommend is to fill up your car as soon as it hits half a tank or charge it. There aren't very many petrol stations along the NC500. If you're driving an EV, I highly recommend using the North Coast 500 or the Charge Place Scotland apps. These will help you plan ahead of where to find charging points for your car and will let you know of where to locate rapid chargers. Our next stop was the Glenfinnan Viaduct, which you may recognize from the Harry Potter movie franchise. But apart from that, the Viaduct is famed for its stunning sweeping curves and its stunning tracks 100 feet above the ground. It is a great place for hiking and enjoying stunning views of Loch Shiel. On our way to Inverness, we chose the way that would take us to the world-famous Loch Ness, which many of you may know as the residence of the infamous Loch Ness Monster. Loch Ness is one of the world's most mysterious lakes, stretching over 20 miles long and nearly 800 feet deep. Surrounded by stunning scenery and rich history, Loch Ness draws visitors eager to experience the magic of Scotland's natural beauty. There are many stops along the loch, so on this trip we decided to stop at Fort Augustus. Fort Augustus is a picturesque village in the Scottish Highlands, located at the southern tip of Loch Ness. The village is a popular stop for tourists exploring the Highlands. One of its main attractions is the Caledonian Canal, where visitors can watch boats navigate a series of lochs right in the heart of the village. Fort Augustus also offers scenic walking and cycling routes, quaint shops, and a peaceful atmosphere that captures the essence of rural Scotland. It's also a good place for those who wish to take a boat tour on Loch Ness. If you're wondering why they're called lochs, loch is a Gaelic word that means a lake or a sea inlet. Before reaching Inverness, we made a quick stop at Urquhart Castle, one of the largest castle ruins in Scotland. Urquhart Castle played a key role in the wars of Scottish independence in the 14th century. We ended our long day by staying overnight in Inverness, where a majority of people like us who explore the NC500 start their journey. We stayed at the Courtyard by Marriott close to the airport, which cost us £279, which was very steep. One of our hosts informed us that Inverness has some of the most expensive hotels in the UK, sometimes even more expensive than London. This is due to the low supply and high demand, especially during peak seasons. Our first stop the following morning was Chanonry Point, a short drive from Inverness. It's a spit of land that extends into the Moray Firth, where you'll see the lighthouse and enjoy sightings of bottlenose dolphins as they hunt for salmon. The best time to see the dolphins is about an hour after low tide. Here's an important tip when traveling the NC500. There are very few viewpoints along the route, but what you will notice is that there are endless amounts of beauty spots. Enjoy the journey, take in all the sights, and park responsibly in designated areas when available to enjoy the views. Our next stop was Fairy Glen Falls. Fairy Glen Falls is a charming waterfall tucked away in the village of Rosemarkie. It is known for its serene setting surrounded by lush greenery and rocky formations. The falls cascade into a peaceful pool, creating a perfect spot for quiet reflection and nature walks. Its enchanting atmosphere makes it a favorite destination for hikers and photographers. Parking here is quite limited, unfortunately. I can just imagine how rammed this place must get during peak seasons, so make sure to come early. But the good news is, the hike from the parking lot is quite short and very easy. Now, if you're like Adrian who loves his hot chocolate, the next stop is for you. Cocoa Mountain, a cafe chain that claims to have the best hot chocolate in the world. We visited the one in Dunrobin, a charming seaside town. Was the hot chocolate as good as they claimed to be? Well, it was definitely delicious, creamy and drizzled with lots of white and milk chocolate syrup. It's probably one of the best ones I've had, but I'm not sure if it's actually the best hot chocolate in the world. I do recommend their homemade chocolates though. They are small bites packed with flavor and they are not so sweet. Unfortunately, we didn't have much time to explore Dunrobin, as we still had other places to visit. Just a few miles down the road from Dunrobin is one of my favorite destinations in the Scottish Highlands. Dunrobin Castle. Dunrobin Castle is one of Scotland's most iconic and picturesque castles, located near the town of Golspie. Resembling a French chateau with its pointed turrets and grand architecture, the castle has been home to the Earls and Dukes of Sutherland for over 700 years. Overlooking the North Sea, it is surrounded by beautifully landscaped gardens, inspired by those at the Palace of Versailles. With its rich history, stunning interiors, and dramatic coastal views, Dunrobin Castle offers visitors a glimpse into Scotland's aristocratic past. If you love gardens like Adrian and I do, you have to dedicate at least 2 hours here. The garden is massive and full of stunning flora. We even got to play croquet for a little bit, even though I didn't know what the heck I was doing. And don't miss out on the Falconry show, which typically happens at 11:30 in the morning and at 2:30 in the afternoon. By the way, backpacks, not backpacks, are not allowed here, and the entry fee is slightly steep, but for us, it was worth it. Our last stop for the day was definitely something truly unique. Whaligoe Steps. Whaligoe Steps are a historic stone staircase in Caithness, descending over 300 steps down a steep cliff to a natural harbor. Built in the 18th century, they were used by the fishermen to bring up catches of herring and other fish.
Okay, the walk back begins. Let's see how we get on. Halfway, calves are feeling it. That was rough. Beautiful views. No steps. Killer coming back. Denise was sensible enough not to make the trek down.
It got so windy at one point, we just had to leave. After doing a bit of food shopping at Wick, we felt the weather quickly turning for the worse. But it didn't matter. We were very excited about the next place we were staying at. This beautiful glamping pod in a tranquil setting. We stayed at one of the 2 pods at North Star Glamping in Libster, a village a few minutes away from Wick. And to say that we fell in love with this pod is an understatement.
Oh wow, this is so cool.
You like it?
Yeah, this is awesome.
It is, huh?
Totally.
It's so beautiful and cozy. It even has a full bathroom and kitchen. Too bad we were only here for a night. And for this day, we paid £120. And this place was worth every penny. It offered us more than just a place to stay. It gave us an experience that we will remember forever. We woke up to torrential rain and the howling winds, but we were told that a trip to the Highlands will always involve wet and stormy weather, so we just had to soldier on. We first stopped at Wick, a coastal town in Caithness and a short drive from Libster. Wick is known for its rich maritime heritage and rugged scenery. It's also home to Ebenezer Place, the shortest street in the world. And Old Wick Castle, which is perched on a dramatic sea cliff near the town. Dating back to the 12th century, the castle's remains, a tall, narrow tower, stand as a striking example of medieval fortification. And on our way to the castle, the rain just started lashing down.
I think Denise just realised we're not in California anymore.
So I'm glad this happened because we wanted to show you how quickly the weather can turn on you here in Scotland. It still doesn't ruin your trip, but you just gotta deal with it. And another thing too is this rain is cold and it's very windy. So on your trip, regardless of whether it's summer or spring or fall, make sure to bring some warm clothes because it does get cold.
I just realised I can't feel my fingers. Not only is it raining, but it's freezing. Absolutely freezing.
Sadly, we couldn't get close as it was closed due to falling debris. Thankfully, the rain died down a bit, and after a short drive, we were able to have a pleasant walk towards our next destination. Our drive away, we are now heading to Castle Sinclair, which is also the place for the Ness lighthouse. Unfortunately, you can't walk to the lighthouse, but you can walk to the ruins of the castle. Castle Sinclair was built in the 15th century by the Sinclair family and later expanded over the following centuries. It served as a stronghold and residence for the powerful Sinclair clan, witnessing clan feuds, sieges, and political conflicts. Today, its dramatic ruins tell the story of Scotland's turbulent medieval history while offering stunning views of the North Sea. Well, the weather wasn't improving, but that didn't stop us from heading to our next stop, O Groats. Many say that this is the northernmost point of the mainland UK. Actually, it's not. However, many come here to cycle or walk or run and use the sign as a beacon of reaching their northernmost location. And how do people memorialize their visit here? By having their picture taken underneath this famous sign. O Groats is a small village perched on the northernmost tip of mainland Scotland. Often seen as the end of the road in Britain, it's a bucket list destination for adventurers completing the epic journey from one end of the UK to the other. O Groats is actually a great stop for a bit of souvenir shopping, restroom breaks, and for grabbing a bite to eat. It has a few restaurants and shops, and even Paddington Bear. This wind is crazy! I had to hike to Duncan's. We're trying to hike the Duncan's stacks. The wind is crazy. It's just getting. We're hiking towards Duncan's stacks. Anyway, never mind. Close by is Duncansby Stacks. The Duncansby Stacks are towering sea stacks formed by thousands of years of coastal erosion. These dramatic rock formations rise sharply from the North Sea, creating one of Scotland's most striking natural landscapes. After that, we drove to the most northeasterly point of mainland Britain, which is marked by the Duncansby Lighthouse. Remember when I said that O Groats isn't the northernmost point? It's actually Dunnet Head. But because of the terrible weather and strong gusts of wind, we decided against going. Dunnet Head is a great place for you to spot wildlife such as puffins. Hopefully, weather permitting, we can go on our next visit in the near future. You probably noticed that on our way here, we had to drive on a single-lane road that we had to share with oncoming traffic. Don't let that scare you because there are many passing places where you can pull into to let the other vehicle through. The main thing to remember is to always be courteous. If you're close to a passing place, pull over. The other driver will thank you. However, if the other driver lets you go first, make sure to thank them with a small wave. I do have to make it a point that you have to be comfortable about reversing the car in tight spaces as you may have to do this quite a lot to give way to oncoming vehicles. And lastly, do not use these passing places as a place for you to park. Doing so will cause congestion. So, off we go on another long drive to our next destination, Ceannabeine Beach. We spotted a few beaches along the way, but we decided to stretch our legs at this particular beach. And we were so glad we did. Ceannabeine Beach is so picturesque and serene, with its pristine sand and turquoise waters. We spotted a few people setting up camp here, either in their camper vans or wild camping. One of the things to know about Scotland is that here they honor the right to roam rule, a law that gives everyone the freedom to explore most of the country's land and waterways. That means you can hike across hills, camp by lochs, or wander through forests, as long as you do it responsibly and respect nature, wildlife, and local communities. Finally, we reached our last stop of the day, Smoo Cave. Smoo Cave near Ness is a stunning sea cave carved by both the ocean and a freshwater river. With its massive entrance and underground waterfall, it's one of the most dramatic natural sights in the Highlands and a must-see stop on the North Coast 500. One thing to remember when visiting the Highlands is to bring some cash, and this is a perfect example of why. Smoo Cave is so remote, getting a card machine to work there is virtually impossible. So they can only accept cash if you want to do a tour. Sadly, we didn't see the waterfall in the cave. We only saw a trickle, but we still enjoyed our visit here. It's such a stunning place to see. A word of caution though, getting to the cave involves quite a few steps. Avoid it if you have mobility issues. And so we began another long drive to our accommodation for the evening. And the drive here was just breathtaking. Tonight, we stayed in Oldshoremore. Oldshoremore is a hidden gem on Scotland's northwest coast, known for its white sandy beach, turquoise waters, and rugged hills. It's a peaceful escape surrounded by wild beauty, perfect for a quiet walk, a swim, or soaking in the incredible Highland scenery. Our accommodation for the night was a croft cabin, which cost us £228. Traditionally made from stone or timber, these cabins were the heart of a croft, a tiny farm where families grew their own food and tended livestock. The cabin was comfortable but not as nice as a glamping pod. But you know what made it memorable? The view. Just look at that. And the location is just heavenly. Good morning. I had a good night's sleep last night. The bed was a bit uncomfortable, but it was okay. Anyway, we made a really bad mistake last night. And what happened was we forgot to buy food as we were driving here. And we ended up eating chocolates and crisps or potato chips if you are in the US. So don't make the same mistake we did. Make sure to stock up on your way here. If you see a grocery store, stop by and buy some food. That way you won't have the problem of not being able to get any because there aren't many shops along the way here from Ness to Oldshoremore. And also people have asked me if we've had Wi-Fi in the cabins we've stayed at, and the answer is no. The good news is there's pretty good reception along the NC500, believe it or not. It's been pretty much 5G most of the way. So anyway, that's it. See you soon. After our morning coffee, Adrian and I decided to trek down to Oldshoremore Beach. And my goodness, we were not expecting this. The beach was just jaw-droppingly spectacular. We were the only ones there, and if it weren't for the non-tropical weather, we would have thought we were in the Caribbean or something. And just look at that sand, so pure and pristine, and the color of that water was just stunning. And look how clear it is. Sadly, we had to leave Oldshoremore Beach. We had so many more places to see. One of the things that I really wanted to see during our trip here were some Highland cows. And on our way to Ceannabeine Beach, we spotted a bunch of them. Obviously, we couldn't pet them as they belonged to a farm, but we were able to get pretty up close. They are just adorable. And if you're an animal lover like me, I guarantee that you will fall in love with a Highland sheep too. They are such beautiful creatures. Ceannabeine Beach on Scotland's northwest coast is a stunning stretch of white sand framed by turquoise waters and rugged hills. It is tranquil and breathtaking, and a perfect spot relax to explore tidal pools or watch the waves roll in against the dramatic scenery. Remember when I told you that a trip to the Highlands is about enjoying the journey and not just getting from one destination to another? Well, just look at this drive. On our drives, we spotted so many lochs and waterfalls along the way. I kept taking so many pictures and I couldn't stop myself from filming. And so we reached one of the most popular spots in the Highlands, Kylesku Bridge. Kylesku Bridge, stretching across a dramatic sea loch in northwest Scotland, is an iconic piece of modern engineering set against a backdrop of rugged mountains and sparkling waters. Opened in 1984, this sleek curved bridge not only connects remote communities, but also offers stunning views, making it a favorite spot for photographers and travelers exploring the Highlands. I looked away for a minute and saw Adrian walking halfway across the bridge. So I'm walking towards the Ardvreck Castle, which is a ruin of a castle owned and built by the MacLeod clan. Apparently this place is haunted and it's had a very violent history. Ardvreck Castle, perched on a rocky promontory above Loch Ascent in the Scottish Highlands, is a striking 16th century ruin steeped in history. Once home to the MacLeod clan, its crumbling walls and dramatic setting make it a hauntingly beautiful spot, perfect for exploring Scotland's turbulent past and capturing breathtaking views over the loch. And as we walked away from the castle, we spotted a small yet gorgeous waterfall across the road. While we were planning our trip here, we heard that there is a restaurant in Lochinver that serves the most amazing pies, and that place is Lochinver Larder. We cannot recommend this place enough. And to say that their pies is delicious is such an understatement. I had the steak and ale pie, while Adrian had the apple and pork one. The crust was thin and the pie was so full of delicious filling. And as if we haven't had enough pies, we decided to have more for dessert. Oh man, we loved this place so much. We would come back here all the time if we could. Thankfully, if we do end up craving for them, you can order them online and they will ship them to you within the UK. If you're enjoying this video and finding it helpful, please hit that like button and give us a hype. And if you'd like more useful tips or if you'd like to follow our adventures, please subscribe to our channel. I think we were on the verge of a lunch coma, so we decided to head to our campsite at Clachtoll Beach. And we are so glad we did. Clachtoll Beach campsite is amazing. Our stay for one night cost us £43, which was so worth it. I was kind of apprehensive about camping before coming here, only because we haven't camped in years and I didn't know what to expect. But Clachtoll Beach campsite made me fall in love with camping again. It's a small enough campsite and so the facilities were within easy reach. There are very clean toilets, a shop, food storage, a kitchen you can cook in, and a gathering area with a fireplace perfect for warming up and mingling with your fellow campers. Everyone here was so friendly and the location was perfect. The owner, Steve, gave us his favorite spot, which faced the ocean and was positioned next to a barrier that protected us from the gale force winds. Surprisingly, after only a few minutes, we were able to set up our tents. The campsite is only a short walk from the beach, where we found people enjoying or trying to enjoy a cold dip in the sea. During our visit, all we could hear were people yelping and screaming as they first feel how cold the water actually is. And this was probably one of my favorite parts of the trip. Just relaxing at the campsite, enjoying the beautiful weather, playing with the dogs, and chatting with our fellow campers. We had a lovely dinner, camping food from packets, which were actually surprisingly very good. And this particular brand was delicious. Scan the QR code to link you to the product we used. And once again, Adrian and I fell asleep to the serene sound of the sea. Just a short drive away from Clachtoll Beach is Clashnessie Falls. We parked our car at nearby Clashnessie Bay and walked up the hill for about 15 minutes to the start of a short hike. And on our way there, we couldn't help but admire the view. And we even came across some mountain goats. There's the falls. The hike itself was moderate, but there were a few hazards such as slippery and unsteady stones and boggy mud. But apart from that, the hike to the falls was tranquil and beautiful. The best part was we were able to actually get close to the falls. And Adrian was so excited about it.
This is the best stop so far, check this out.
On our way to our next destination, we decided to drive down the Drumbeg Loop. And on this drive, we made a brief stop at Drumbeg Viewpoint. The Drumbeg Viewpoint offers a spectacular panorama over the island-studded waters of Ardvreck Bay and the ancient peaks of Sutherland. It provides a perfect vantage point to experience the wild, prehistoric beauty of the Assynt landscape. The Drumbeg Loop is on the B869 and is also called the Wee Mad Road of Sutherland and is not for the faint-hearted. It's a beautiful drive, but must be done with extreme caution. And in order to do this drive, you must be confident at reversing. And remember what I told you earlier about passing lanes? Do not park there, especially here as it is essential to keep the traffic flowing. On our way to Wick Castle yesterday, we attempted to see the Wailing Widow Falls. Unfortunately, we couldn't find any parking, so we decided to do it today instead. And nope, Mother Nature was not on our side. Out of nowhere, the rain started pouring extremely heavily.
This weather is awful. Oh my god. I was gonna go to Wailing Widow, but decided against it because of my knee. So Adrian and my son are headed there instead.
And the wind just got so much stronger. Adrian and my son attempted to do the 1 mile hike, but since the trail to the falls is very slippery and muddy, they decided to abandon the hike, and so did many others. It was too dangerous to continue.
I don't be able to call it. You can see the falls, but it's just blowing a gale and rocks is slippery. So back to the car and onward.
Anyway, here's what it should look like on a good day. And so on our way to llapool, we stopped at Knockan Crag. Knockan Crag is one of Scotland's most fascinating geological landmarks. A place where the story of our planet is written into the rock itself. Towering cliffs reveal the ancient collision of continents, where 500 million year old rocks were pushed over much younger layers below. As we explored the trails, we came across interactive exhibits, sculptures, and viewing platforms that bring the landscape to life. Set against sweeping views of Loch Assynt and the surrounding mountains.
Raining.
And so on another rainy day, we ended our journey for the day in llapool. Perched on the shores of Loch Broom, llapool is a charming fishing village and a gateway to Scotland's wild northwest coast. With its whitewashed houses, bustling harbour, and views of distant mountains, it perfectly captures the beauty and spirit of the Highlands. It's also a place for catching a ferry to the Isles, doing some shopping, especially for souvenirs and groceries. Llapool is also a great stop for a good meal and excellent fresh seafood. For lunch, we decided to visit the famous Seafood Shack. The Seafood Shack is a must-visit spot for fresh, locally caught seafood served with a creative twist. This award-winning open-air eatery brings the best of the West Coast straight from boat to plate. And I had a delicious serving of fresh langoustines and oysters. At this stop, we stayed at the Royal Hotel, a short walk from all the shops, pubs, and restaurants, and facing the loch. One night here cost us £220 and included breakfast. There are many restaurants and eateries to choose from, and this time Adrian and I opted for pizzas. Were they good?
How is it?
Not bad, not the greatest. 6.5 out of 10. Pretty good. Worth a visit.
Good.
The following morning, we headed to Corrieshalloch Gorge. This was probably one of my favorite stops of the trip. The Scottish Highlands have waterfalls almost everywhere, but some of them are difficult to access or cannot be accessed at all. If you're like us and you love getting up close to a waterfall, then you will definitely enjoy Corrieshalloch Gorge. One important thing that I have to point out is that parking by the main entrance is very limited. However, they do have overflow parking further down the road. Also, if you are a National Trust member, you don't have to pay for parking. If you have a sticker on your car, or if you can display your card on the dashboard, that would be sufficient. Corrieshalloch Gorge is a dramatic narrow canyon carved by rushing waters over centuries. Its rugged cliffs and powerful river make it a striking spot for nature lovers and adventurers. At Corrieshalloch, you will see this amazing waterfall, the Falls of Miassoc, which you can have a full-on view from a suspension bridge that leads to the viewpoint up the hill. The suspension bridge can only accommodate 6 people, so it's important to wait for your turn to cross or to take pictures. Also, Corrieshalloch is a great stop for toilets. They have a few stalls and are very clean. We ended our stop with tea and coffee before we headed off to Victoria Falls. And on our way there, we found a parking spot on the side of the road. We had spotted a stream and falls, so we decided to go off the beaten path a little bit. The sun was out, so we thought a quick stop would be harmless. But boy, we were absolutely mistaken.
Welcome to the Scottish Highlands. It was literally sunny 3 seconds ago. Now it's beating down with rain. And if you can see up there, the sun's starting to come out again. You can never predict the weather, for sure. But who cares? It's so beautiful.
Out of all of our drives on the NC500, today seemed to be the most challenging one. We made sure to stop at all of the viewing points to enjoy the amazing views. But it was so windy, we literally could only stay for a few minutes. It was so hard to stay steady.
Wow, that's crazy gale force winds today.
Finally, we reached Victoria Falls. Victoria Falls is such a lovely stop. The hike to the falls is extremely easy. There is a viewpoint that you can easily get to. But what you shouldn't miss is the viewpoint at the top of the falls. It was amazing to get up close. Then, we continued our journey to our final stop for the day, Applecross. By the way, on the way there, if you are looking for clean toilets or a shower stop, Gairloch is a good place. They have clean facilities which you can use for a very small fee. There are 2 ways to get to Applecross. One is by taking the Applecross Coast Road, which is a longer way, or by taking the A896. Driving towards the stunning Torridon Mountains, which I highly recommend. The views are out of this world and you will get to drive past the majestic Ben Aigi. There are a few viewpoints that we recommend spending a few minutes at. And by driving up the notorious road Bialach na Ba. This was a part of the trip that I absolutely disliked. But before I tell you why, let me give you a brief background about this road. Bialach na Ba, meaning Pass of the Cattle, is a historic route once used to drive cattle between glens. One of Scotland's most famous mountain roads, it winds steeply through the rugged Applecross Mountains in the Highlands. With hairpin bends and dramatic gradients, it climbs to over 600 meters above sea level, offering breathtaking views of the surrounding peaks and the sea beyond. It was meant to be a beautiful drive, but on this particular day, we were cursed with thick fog, and we couldn't see anything. It was so unnerving to drive up the steep hills and maneuver through the insane hairpin turns. And the worst part? sharing a single-lane road with oncoming traffic, and some of them were driving really fast. The Bealach na Ba is not meant for campervans of a certain size. The roads are small and quite old, and overweight vehicles can easily congest and damage the roads, which is not fair to the locals of Applecross, as this is their main thoroughfare to use. Another thing to note about driving on the Bealach na Ba is that you must be comfortable reversing on extremely tight spaces. Anyway, I was so relieved when that awful drive was over, and it was nice to see some views as we made our descent towards Applecross. Applecross is a remote and picturesque village on Scotland's northwest coast, surrounded by rugged mountains and the wild beauty of the Highlands. Famous for its stunning coastal views, peaceful beaches, and charming local community, it's a perfect destination for travelers seeking tranquility and scenic drives. Applecross is relatively small and remote, but the one place you must try to visit is the famous Applecross Inn, and have a drink and/or a meal there. But I recommend that you call ahead of time to make a reservation if you wish to do so. We came in without a reservation since we were unaware that it was best to make one. Thankfully, the staff were kind enough to place us at a table which we shared with a lovely couple to enjoy one of the most delicious meals we've had on the trip. I ordered the king prawns, which actually looked more like langoustines to me. They were delicious and fresh. We stayed in one of the wooden pods at the Applecross campsite, which was nice but bigger than Clachtoll Beach. Staying in the pod was interesting. It was like staying in a shed. It was bare inside, except for a few mattresses that we could lie on. Our stay for one night cost us £75, and that night we fell asleep to the sounds of owls hooting. We woke up with heavy hearts. It was our last day and we didn't want to leave. It had been such a fun and memorable trip, and Adrian and I had fallen in love with the Scottish Highlands, and we vowed to come back soon. So, before we headed to our last stop, the famous Llapool Castle, we enjoyed a lovely breakfast of bacon baps at the little cafe at the campsite. So today we decided against taking the Bleanach na Ba. So this is the road campervans should really take because it's wide enough for it, but it does add another 45 minutes to the journey. So like this morning we're headed towards the castle. Should have been only an hour and 20 minutes for us, but now it's going to take us 2 hours because we have to go all the way around the coast to get there. On the Applecross Coast Road. It may have been a lot longer, but it was absolutely worth it. The views were just stunning. Able to park up right next to a lovely waterfall along the way. On our way to the castle, we stopped at Loch to fill up the car and to shop for a few snacks and supplies. At last, we made it to Llapool Castle, which is quite possibly the most photographed castle in the Scottish Highlands, and a very popular tourist destination, which you will notice immediately as you enter the parking lot. One thing to remember when visiting the castle is like the Dunrobin Castle earlier in the video, backpacks are not allowed here. Llapool Castle, perched on a small island where the three lochs meet, was originally built in the 13th century to defend against Viking invasions. The castle was later restored in the early 20th century and now stands as a striking example of medieval architecture. On this beautiful sunny day, we really enjoyed our walk around the castle. And learning about its history and significance. Over the centuries, the castle was a stronghold for the Clan Mackenzie and their allies. In 1719, it was destroyed by the Royal Navy during an uprising. but was restored 200 years later. Today, the castle is connected to the mainland by a picturesque stone bridge. The castle is also a great place to get a bite to eat. They have a really good and decent-sized restaurant that serves good and affordable food. Admission tickets can only be purchased on site, and they do not have any pre-bookings online. And so after visiting the castle, we headed to our last stop of the trip, the Cairngorms. And as usual, the drive was stunning.
I've said it many times, I know I would change my ways, I know for sure. When all the crows decide to meet, they settle down beneath my feet.
During one of our stops, we met an amazing woman named Tracy.
So Adrian and I came across this woman who was walking on the road, and when we talked to her, she was actually walking 5,000 miles all across Britain to help fund the cure for cancer since she lost her partner very recently. So anyway, I'm going to share with you the QR code. Her name is Tracy, and if you want to learn more about her story, she blogs her journey every day, and there's also a link to her GoFundMe, so if you would like to support her, please do so. Bye, Tracy!
Finally, we reached our last stop where we decided to spend 2 nights at Newtonmore. We stayed for 2 nights at the lovely Viaduct, which cost us £391 for the family room, which had 1 double bed and 2 twins. We really loved our stay here. The room was so nice and cozy. And the breakfast was absolutely delicious, but it wasn't included in the room rate. It cost us £13 per person. On our way back to England, we decided to spend a day at the UK's biggest national park, the Cairngorms. A day wasn't really enough, but we managed to visit a few spots.
And they sang a song, they sang it loud, and I still remember parts of it, and the yellow glorious were.
Sadly, that was the end of our Scottish Highlands trip. But before we end the video, Adrian and I would like to share some tips that we hope you will find helpful. First of all, what essentials should we bring? Here is our list. Number 1, a towel. It's almost a guarantee that you will get rained on this trip, and even with waterproof clothing, having a towel on hand in the car will be extremely helpful. And of course, as we mentioned earlier, waterproof clothes, jackets, and shoes. Water, food, and snacks, as there are long stretches during the drive where no shops will be around. Trash bags to contain wet clothes or trash or rubbish. A camera, because you will not want to miss out on taking pictures of the spectacular views. Swimwear, especially in the summer, as you will be spoiled with beautiful beaches. The beaches may not be tropical weather warm, but if you don't mind taking a dip in cold water, then you should bring a swimsuit. Insect repellent, especially during the summer. The Highlands are known for being the home of midges and other bugs that bite, including ticks. Cash. Some parts are very remote and struggle with getting reception for card machines, so cash will be the only thing they are able to accept for payment. And lastly, an unrelenting appreciation for stunning scenery and nature, because you will no doubt be spoiled with these during a trip to the extraordinarily beautiful Scottish Highlands. So, how many days should you spend here? We spent a total of 7 and we were able to see quite a few places, but still missed out on some other popular destinations. I think a week would be good, but if you can spend 2, it will provide you with more time to hike and explore its lesser-known destinations. So, was our trip to the Scottish Highlands worth it? Absolutely. We had so much fun and there were so many jaw-dropping moments during our drives. It felt so surreal. Even with the bad weather, it didn't bother us at all. It was actually part of the experience which made it more fun. And if you decide to go, treat it as an experience, not as a destination. Embrace the unpredictable weather, the tricky roads, the quirky rules, but I guarantee you that the Scottish Highlands is something you will treasure forever. We hope you enjoyed this video and found it to be helpful. If you did, please give it a like and a hype. These will help us greatly with the algorithm and will help us keep our channel up and running. If you would like more tips, travel secrets, and honest information about the destinations we travel to, please hit that subscribe button. In the meantime, please enjoy a montage of the pictures during this one-of-a-kind trip. Thank you again for watching, and we'll see you next time. Stay curious and keep exploring.